Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where we'll be discussing reinventing the PMO in an age of disruption. My name is Doug Welsby, and I'm the channel manager here at Wickersoft. I'm also joined by my colleague, Jim Patterson, our director of sales. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit questions. I will address these questions during the webinar and will respond via email if we do not get to your specific question. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I will be emailing a link to the presentation once it has been posted to our YouTube channel. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim, who will be handling the presentation.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate the introduction. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Let's get right into the topic at hand. So in talking about reinventing the PMO in this age of disruption, what we're going to cover today is some of the real-world business challenges that are driving the need for such changes. We're going to talk about core capabilities to evolve into and steps that we can take in order to get there. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, are we moving towards a world without projects? Is that something that we really are moving for? Is that fact or myth? And in that, we'll hopefully show you some real-world capabilities today where we can tackle some of these modern approaches using technologies that are available today. So with that, let's talk about the opportunities that PMOs have today in this age of disruption, in this age of transformation. You know, what we're hearing a lot about these business challenges and conversations happening today at different levels of the organization sound something like this. From an executive perspective, they see the market demands becoming more imperative. They need to move faster, they say. We need to be more proactive. We need to be more innovative. We have to find new ways to reach our customers. We have to be more strategic in finding new business models in order to be relevant in this marketplace today. And it's something that keeps executives up at night today. And then how that impacts a PMO, they ask, with all this potential change and evolution that we're asked to undertake, how do we perform and yet still transform and get better without breaking anything along the way and still delivering what we need to do today while we're trying to improve for the future? Also, what that means is, what do our roles look like in the future? Does this transformation means that the expectations of our jobs and the roles that we're in, are they going to even exist? Will they be some modified role? Or is the work methods going to dictate another way of doing business? So these are all business challenges that are being addressed at these two levels. Now, when we look at 5 new PMO capabilities and opportunities that PMOs have, because PMOs have a lot of rich capability and history and domain expertise in doing a lot of different things and leveraging those things in the new modern world, it gives them the ability or the opportunity to take a leadership role in this whole age of disruption and transformation. So areas to focus on in more pragmatic steps is, 1, becoming more agile, which is really indicated by the statements we said early on. We need to look at how we're doing strategic planning, or maybe whether or not we're doing strategic alignment at all. We then have to get into more of a talent focus, focusing on the people aspects of things. And then we actually have to manage the transformation itself, which are large initiatives in and of itself on top of the things that we're doing day to day even. And then on top of that, even important to our success more than anything else, is the actual adoption itself and managing the change within that organization and having proper leadership to drive us to the correct change within those organizations. So first, let's talk about the first one, about becoming more agile. You know, the idea here is that, we keep hearing about agile, keep seeing about more agile, but why do we want to do it? Those are the questions we have to ask. And then the next question is, how do we do it? So some of the things that we're hearing and talking to organizations today is that pockets of agile in place are in most organizations today. Depending on the surveys that you look at, you could say that agile is in place, is what I'm hearing. Anywhere from 60 to 90% of organizations are doing agile somewhere in the organization. You can debate the numbers and you can debate the statistics, but what's not debatable is that the number of agile projects that are happening within organizations are increasing beyond what many people are even realizing. But the other reality is that we have non-agile projects too, and that may not change. Even companies that are looking at agile transformations, there's certain work efforts, initiatives, and types of work that may not lend themselves in their particular organization or business to doing things in an agile fashion. And a more traditional, more predictive waterfall type of approach might be more applicable. And the other thing is because in the age of the cloud and the availability of tools, the proliferation of tools is big, and then people are saying we have numerous tools in use and we don't have one consistent way of getting visibility into the work that's being done. And then we're also hearing that the executives are becoming more demanding, and they're asking us to transform into a high-performance organization that can deliver faster and better. The question is, how do we do that? How do we execute on that type of vision or that type of goal or mission? And then ultimately, what do we do next without attempting to boil the ocean? What type of pragmatic steps can we take to actually move in that direction? Now, to that end, many of us have heard of the concept of scale agile, because agile really formed at the team level. It was really more of an effort that was happening on a team-by-team basis. And as it grows more prevalently within an organization, the need to put some type of, let's say, organization around that becomes imperative. And in doing so, even if we're not on a full-scaled agile initiative, some of the principles that are embodied in a scaled agile approach make sense as we're transforming in this age of disruption. One is we need to take a more economic view of what we're doing, whether it be from the executives that are actually funding and strategizing what to do, also to the people that are actually performing the work. What are the investments, and are we investing in the right things? What's the value that the organization or our customers are going to receive? What are the investments that we're looking to make? What are the returns that we're going to get, whether it be in cost savings or revenue or other things like that? And then ultimately, we have to start building incrementally, meaning the way we used to execute in big chunks in an old waterfall world, kind of like what happened in the aerospace industry and other things like that in large construction projects. In this age of digital delivery, we have to look at building incrementally and doing things in iterations and delivering more frequently with more integrated learning cycles so that it's a continuous process and easy for our customers to absorb. We also want to base our milestones on an objective valuation of working systems, meaning when we make commitments, we want to make sure that we have a good understanding and an objective evaluation of what we can do within the culture, the systems, and the processes that we have in place today. Ultimately, we want to keep improving those, but the idea is we want to understand what our ability is to deliver. And then ultimately, we want to be able to visualize and limit work in process, oftentimes without having a funnel or out having some type of strategic prioritization. We can become overloaded with more requests for work than we can handle. And those work in process limits can get exceeded to where we miss our commitments, or basically we are making commitments blindly without understanding what our constraints truly are. And more, we have projects and initiatives that require cross-functional or cross-domain planning within our organizations. So to keep working on the same direction or singing from the same songbook, we need to apply a cadence where we have communication and checkpoints to where the communication in our cross-functional efforts are done on a regular basis so that we make sure that we're not veering off from what's ultimately has to be delivered at the end of the day for our internal and external customers. And then the people is always the most important part. In the scaled agile world, we want to unlock the intrinsic motivation of our knowledge workers or our people. Let's tap into what really makes them tick. Let's unleash the power of their innovation, of their motivation, and empower them to do the things they need to do to get things done, ultimately decentralizing decision-making. So in this type of scaled approach, once again, doing a full-scaled agile transformation takes a long time for an organization. But we can take a crawl, walk, and run approach and make it a more inclusive approach. And it really starts with the vision of our thought leaders and the leadership within our organization. We need to really start iterating on the future organization and the governance and what our vision for that is. And to start on that, we have to commit to a mindset. And this more agile mindset means it has to be embraced by all levels of the organization if we're going to do it well. And if we want to commit to an overall mindset and think about that as being our own organizational, say, Agile manifesto, for example, what we want to do then, we have to design the future model and what that looks like within our own particular organization. And then build an incremental roadmap so that we can get the early wins, but then keep moving towards continuous improvement to getting better in that. Now, to do that, that can't just all come on high from our leadership and our thought leaders. We really need representatives from those delivery teams that are going to have to execute on those things. And the best way to do that is oftentimes to find live projects or current efforts to work on executing and refining the ways for us to have a scaled approach to delivering these types of projects. And then we can work on defining the terminology, the team interactions, and the things that are going to work specifically in our organizations in the way that we look at work and the way we want to manage and the way we want to deliver. And then the third thing that has to happen is we need to take another look at metrics. You know, the traditional metrics that we used to look at in PPM may not be the metrics we look at in the future. You know, things like MPV and ROI may not be the metrics to see how well we're doing it as an organization and how we're mapping to those strategies or business goals, or how we're doing at becoming more agile. The great thing about PMOs is they've been great in the past at leading the charge in organizations to get metrics consistently put in place and be able to help deliver on consistent and quality bases. That role does not change, and they can take a leadership position in making those things happen in the new landscape. So if we take more of a Kanban style approach into the world from a team perspective, we have to start visualizing demand, and that starts very early on. If we look at early on what that funnel is, that can include a bunch of just crazy ideas that we may not even consider doing, but it's a funnel where we have input and ideation coming from our teams so that we're using the best and brightest things coming through, and then analyzing what actually makes it into our backlogs of things that we will seriously consider doing. And then from that backlog is going to come things that we actually execute on and ultimately deploy into production and release. And these are capabilities that we're going to release either internally to our internal customers, externally to our external customers, or just ultimately delivering value from our efforts according to the strategies that we put in place. And that leads to strategic planning. You know, many organizations still will tell you that we really, don't say no. We just get it done. And they basically, through brute force, try to get everything done. But there's really no free lunch. For organizations to basically do well at this, you can't just not say no to things or prioritize. Ultimately, there's a price to be paid, whether it be in resource burnout, turnover, whether it be in quality of what's delivered. There's something that a price to be paid by not doing that. And in strategic planning, we really want to get into really having overarching strategies on which we align things to. So these strategic themes, for example, may be overarching things that say everything we do should drive or contribute to one of these strategic themes. Do we want our customer experience to have more transaction use? Do we want our customer experience to be more around our integrated products? Do we want our internal operations to have cost efficiencies, et cetera? The idea is this will shape the things that we choose to do, and what portfolios and priorities and what we're going to make budgets and what we're going to make our investments in should be driving to help us achieve the overarching strategic themes of an organization. And ultimately, by doing that, we'll be connecting every person and every activity we're doing to these themes. Now, once again, re-looking at the metrics that are involved, we want to look at forward-thinking indicators to see, are we making progress to achieving these strategic themes? And then ultimately, these strategic themes will spawn portfolios of work, projects, initiatives, whatever we would like to call them in the organization. And there's a lot of things in the analyst community that's saying that these portfolios are going to become more product-oriented as we move forward into this digital age. But really, we need to organize around different value propositions or resources and activities or things that we look at portfolios in a different way. Ultimately, from a more agile approach, you may organize these things into value streams at some point, which are more continuous efforts of work that we keep delivering on an ongoing basis. The idea is that portfolios tie back to strategic themes, and then the projects and initiatives within those portfolios should also tie back so that everything's in a coordinated effort. And it ultimately, if it's not going to deliver value to the organization as we perceive value, then we should question why we're doing it. And from an executive perspective, the strategic initiatives would go through that same type of funneling process. We need to be economics focused, right? What's the investment that's required? What's the benefit or return that we're going to get from the organization? But then also, we need to understand the capacity of teams so that what we commit to or what we choose to do is possible within the constraints that we have as an organization, whether it be our velocities or our throughputs or the sheer numbers of people of teams that we have to do these things. So that leads us into kind of the talent focus, the people. And I think, always we've been, the resources and the people that we have in place are the ones that get these things done. And the nature of what they're doing or what we ask them to do in the future may change over time. We may redefine the roles, we may redefine the approach that we have, but it's a key component to our success. From a skills planning perspective, two areas that we need to connect into is the skills planning. And that, in the old days where the profile of a project manager was, a bulldog, get things done, hard charging, camped on things until they got done. Those are all good attributes from a proactive perspective, but the new world may require additional skills or additional finesse on top of that in order to make these things work. For example, understanding the potential of the technology and when to apply it. The idea is the automation pieces and how can we become more effective. I'll use an example of futuristically of AI, how we can apply that, or maybe some more automation or business process automation into the mix. Customer and industry knowledge, because we're more customer focused these days in this agile transformation world and in this digital transformation world, we have to be more focused on the needs of the customer and what the industry is doing, so we make sure that we're actually delivering the right things at the right time and what the marketplace is demanding. And then we need business change skills, because we're asking the business to change quite a bit in this age of transformation. And the idea is if we don't help nurture or shepherd the organization through change, we're going to find less than desirable results at the end of the day. And instead of kind of top-down command control, the concept of servant leadership comes more into play, where the traditional project manager might ride people into getting things done and camp on that. In a servant leadership role, maybe the idea of a scrum master, where their job is really to clear out barriers and obstacles for their team, to be able to intervene and remove those things for people and intervene to make sure that they can do their jobs. And the idea that where the team is successful, they will also be successful is a mindset change that comes with that kind of more agile approach. And even executive sponsoring skills, meaning that the executive sponsors in these things to make these change agents successful, you need that top-down support from an executive sponsor perspective as well. And then collectively, more than just individual skill sets, as we move into new ways of doing work, we have to have communities of practice so we can share ideas, we can communicate, we can share successes, we can commiserate on things that aren't working. And the idea is that we can get better through these communities of practice and actually help us cross-functionally in kind of a team of teams type of approach. And then managing the transformation. Any change that's going on today usually has some form of the word transformation in the name of the title of the initiative. And we have to basically manage through that. And in today's day and age, we find that more and more people in the leadership or driving some of these transformation efforts aren't from the traditional project manager or PMO ranks. And the idea is that managing those transformations, we have to focus on some key capabilities. Like I mentioned earlier on, we should relook at the metrics and the economic focus so that we can measure our progress against our goals in ways that are meaningful. We need to have strategic alignment to make sure that the things that we're doing in transformation align with where we want to go as a business. And then we also have to incorporate different methodologies and frameworks. More increasingly popular in both scaled agile and other is more lean and modern processes as opposed to some of the more earlier project management methods that were used in earlier days. And then just coaching and sponsors as we transform our mindsets and we ask people to do things in different ways. Oftentimes coaching of consistently reinforcing that this is where the organization is going and encouraging people to take the risks they need to take in order to make those things. That coaching is going to be very important to us to be successful as an organization in this. And then just from an adoption and change leadership perspective, we're not really talking about the traditional change request, change management of managing projects in the past. This is more overarching, is change management and adoption of a new way of life within our companies and a new way of doing business. And by not managing that change properly, shepherding that change or promoting that change and equipping people for that change is a major reason for failed or mediocre outcomes from these initiatives. It's a great area for PMOs to lead on because we've always been agents of change in the PMO. Just the nature of the change and the content of that change is just different than it used to be. But we have a history of being change agents and promoting that and reinforcing that in organizations. So there's no reason why that should not continue in our evolving role. And it's not simply done by training people after you put a process in place. You have to equip people from very early on in the process and bring them along, make them participants in that process, and that ultimately you can be successful. There's a lot of different change models out there, like the ProC ADKAR model for change is helpful, and some others that are out there, but you can basically choose what's best for your organization. The idea is you need to focus on the change management aspects to have successful adoption. And then ultimately, are we going to end up in a world without projects? I guess the answer to that is kind of yes and no. We are moving towards a world where we have more continuous streams of work and then take a more value stream type of approach to scaled agile approaches, meaning there's continuous efforts that are done more incrementally. The concept of a project or the nature of that is changing, but I think we are delivering larger initiatives in more incremental ways. But the idea is to be equipping our teams and our processes and our skill sets to be able to deliver in this new world. Ultimately, it is a changing world. And I think that the nature of the roles of our people are going to change, but those roles are not going to go away. And I think the role and the nature of the PMO is also going to evolve at the end of the day. And what may be considered a program or a project in the past might be organized by product, if you listen to folks like Gartner Group, as far as the way things are going with adaptive PPM today. What's not going to change is the fact that these areas do need to be addressed. Becoming more agile, strategic planning, talent focus, managing transformation, and adoption and change leadership. And with that, we're going to move into a next segment and give you a demonstration of some things that can be done with technology today to help focus on these things. The idea is to do more adaptive PPM, as they call it. It's more multifaceted, not monolithic. The ability to be flexible in the work methods and the tools that are used, yet be able to have visibility and focus and the ability to have decision support on these things. And for that, I'm going to turn to Doug Welsby for a demonstration and show you some of these things and some of the technologies that are available today in the Microsoft platform. Doug, all yours.
Great, thanks, Jim. Just double check that you can see the screens. Jim, are you able to see the screens?
Hold on. Yes, I can.
Okay, super, thank you. So thanks for that, Jim. It's important to recognize that standardization on a single tool set is going to be difficult. In fact, in trying to build out a PMO in these disruptive times, you want to actually try and be as least disruptive as possible. Attempting to get the various organizational entities, the IT organization, the PMO, maybe a development shop, maybe the marketing team, to change the tools through which they are managing their work, managing their day-to-day activities, to maybe consolidate that into a single tool, that itself is disruptive as you're trying to deploy a solution for an all-up view into where your resources are working, where your money's being spent, how you are actually delivering on the key objectives and the strategies for your organization. So instead of doing that, take a more agile approach by embracing these tools and the different work management approaches that the different teams have. So today we'll show you how our solution, One Plan, helps to enable this agile approach without disruption to the teams that are involved. I'll show you how to visualize demand, how to achieve that strategic planning that Jim focused on earlier, how to become a more talent-focused organization, and how to be truly agile without disruption within your organization. So we're looking at our one plan adaptive PPM solution, where we see a wide variety of plans from a variety of different tools. Each one of these entries represents a plan. It could be thought of as a project or initiative. It could be thought of also and could be representing here just a small segment of work that's happening within a larger project initiative. So this support customers using mobile project, just as an example, this is just one epic within an all-up project that's being delivered within an Azure DevOps environment. So we see here a mix within this same portfolio view of projects being delivered with our Microsoft project tool set. Projects that are being delivered with the assistance of Microsoft Teams. We see Jira delivered projects and Azure DevOps projects as well. Further down the list, we have Office Planner projects and even the new project for the web type projects that are being delivered and visualized all within this single interface known as One Plan and our portfolio analyzer views. So we have a single source of reporting and consolidation of information across these various work delivery systems. We're seeing a summary view here, but I can quickly change through and look at a financial summary view. Now, this financial information that's being rendered in these financial summary views, it may be entered directly within this One Plan tool. We might be going in and editing this information manually, or if we have a connected system and One Plan enables that, we're able to import that information from those other systems if indeed they do support entities that help you capture elements such as a budget, actual cost, remaining budget, etc. I could switch to a schedule view. And in the schedule summary view, we're seeing less information about finances and more information about the projects, their schedule health, and a Gantt chart representation of the start and end dates for these various projects, including relationships between those various projects, finish to start, and different types of entity relationships that we've built into the One Plan tool set. And then finally, almost every organization is focused on prioritization of projects. So in this prioritization view, we have a long list of projects, active, proposed, some of them are closed, and we see strategic alignment, lower cost entities, improving employee retention or risk scores. All are various attributes that we have built into the solution to enable you to derive a prioritization score. So a configuration of this tool is expected. We ship the solution with a single view and a variety of different list, board, and roadmap type views with a variety of different elements that you can configure to associate with your projects to help you with strategic decision-making around prioritization, management of top-level information about this portfolio of projects that's being delivered. And to assist you in visualization, we also support views such as this board view, where we're able to view an assortment of projects along with their current stages, create, select, plan, or manage. And on these tiles, we can easily add additional entities. So if you're a user who's examining a board view of a portfolio of projects, I can click through and say, I want to add risk to my view, capture that summary in this fashion, and then save that view as your own personal view, if you wish, for the next time you come back to these board type views. Same thing with roadmaps. I can visualize an assortment of different views for roadmaps, looking at it from that same stage grouping of create, select, plan, and manage. But if we have a roadmap grouping projects together by portfolios, for example, I can switch to this view. I'm perhaps in the finance organization and I want to focus the coloring on the financial health of those projects and change the way that view is organized. So again, within this One Plan view, in this adaptive PPM demonstration environment, we see a number of plans. We see high-level information about these projects. We're able to drill down through a variety of different views, keeping in mind that the work is being delivered perhaps in a variety of different tools, such as Project, Jira, Azure DevOps, or even Office Planner or the new project for the web. So how do we visualize demand within the tool? How do we capture incoming requests for work and have a visual representation of that? So within the solution, we have a variety of project requests that have been submitted. A user can be given the security rights to drop into this project request area, submit a new request. You might open this up and call it ideation as opposed to project requests, where everyone in the organization is able to submit requests. The active request view might be available to the project management office, but your typical day-to-day user, someone who comes in with a new idea, might only see the My Requests view. So they only have access to this one single view, filtering out what they have access to limit it to only their recently submitted suggestions. Within this visual representation of these active requests, if I open up the support customers using mobile requests, we see here that we've configured the solution to capture some high-level information about this request, the name, the owner, the state of the request. In this case, it's been approved. Other details easily configured and added to the solution, including textual type information capture about the details of this submission, the value statement that we are associating with the request. And then as we build out a business case for this project or this planned proposal, we need to do prioritization. And if you'll recall from that portfolio analyzer view a few moments ago, we saw that prioritization view where we saw the scores, strategic alignment. This particular project has a strong impact on overall strategy for the organization. Maybe you're very risk focused. So we want to make sure we are delivering projects which have a low risk. We're able to derive a prioritization score within the solution. Keep in mind, all of this is configurable. We ship this solution with some pre-configured prioritization elements and then work with you or permit you to go through and make changes to this yourselves so that you can capture additional prioritization type metrics and information based on how you do prioritization within your organization. Now back to this project request view, this is kind of a grid view, a little basic in this type of interface, but of course we provide reporting capability within the solution as well. So as your executives visit this tool, want to see this list of new requests that's been submitted and do some further analysis about the requests, examining what's been dropped into the tool, what's the current state of those requests, how much they're going to cost, what the prioritization score versus the estimated benefits for these different elements is. All of that's available within this type of interface within a Power BI reporting interface. So activating requests through a project request submission, this is how you can visualize the demand. You can gather submissions from either everyone in the organization or through business relationship managers who are responsible for submitting these new requests. And you have full visualization of these within this tool set as well. So let's talk about strategic planning. Most organizations start with a early in the year or prior to the even start of the year. Many of your organizations, based on a fiscal year which follows a calendar year, are in strategic planning exercises and motions right now. So your strategy for your organization typically divides the work up into active portfolios. So in this demonstration environment, we've built this out and we're calling these and referring to them as portfolios, but it could be strategic themes. Here we have a strategic theme of trying to appeal to a younger demographic, or we have a cloud and mobile first strategic theme or an active portfolio that we're working on. So adding new portfolios is very easy. I click on new, give it a description, write out the business case and substantiation around why we're going to take on this new initiative. We can then start to capture some financial information about this portfolio or this new strategic initiative, give it a budget. And as we start to then subsequently associate programs and projects with this new strategic theme, with this new portfolio, those numbers will roll up into that particular portfolio. So here's my cloud and mobile first initiative. If I go look at the financials for this particular initiative, we've set aside $9.5 million for this. And as we roll up information from projects and programs into this strategic theme or portfolio, we see here we have a portfolio budget, and to date, our projects are contributing $3.9 million worth of expense or costs towards that portfolio. We're able to gather status about this portfolio, what the overall health is, what the financial health is, a variety of different manners through which we can permit your portfolio managers to view the information, but also keep it up to date and track what's going on within these various areas. So we have relationships between portfolios and programs and projects that can drill down through this particular area by saying what programs make up this portfolio, and then subsequently which projects roll up into this portfolio as well, keeping in mind that we don't always necessarily need to speak in that language of projects. You might want to speak another language within your business. So maybe it's not portfolios and programs and projects, but maybe it's strategic themes and products, which result in work initiatives. And changing that terminology is important, and the ability to be flexible for how your organization speaks and what language they use to refer to the work that's taking place and the tasks and the assignments for your resources. We can make modifications within these views very easily to do that. So within the portfolio analyzer, we're able to see and visualize these work initiatives as they're taking place as well. So the portfolio analyzer allows us to see those board views of the information and the work and the plans that's happening. So if I switch to a board view and look at a board view that shows what's in the create, select, plan, and manage stages, I can switch to that portfolio representation of that. And here we see that appeal to a younger demographic, cloud and mobile first, those different strategic themes in a portfolio Kanban. So we have a Kanban representation of your strategic themes and your initiatives that are being delivered through the One Plan application interface. And then finally, just like we could view project requests with Power BI, we have that same capability through Power BI reporting around portfolios. So here's our world-class customer support initiative or themed base of projects. Here's our mobile application themed strategic projects that we are delivering. All of those are pivots that we can make within a portfolio view within Power BI to enable better, more comprehensive reporting in addition to what we're showing and what we're able to display within our One Plan interface. So, talent focus. None of this is achievable. We're never going to get there with any of these strategic themes or these initiatives unless we focus on the resource requirements for these plans and for these projects and these deliverables, and focus on the talent that we need to deliver those within our organizations. So as we build out each one of those initiatives, we're able to build out detailed schedules or even mid-level resource plans. And a resource plan within the One Plan tool set allows you to define the resources you need, when you need them, how much of those resources you need in terms of hours per month or quarter or year, or a percentage of their time, or maybe FTEs if you think in full-time equivalent type language, and associate those resources across projects so we can start to roll up and visualize within this resource planning interface how busy those resources are and where we have shortages. So if we think about our talent focus, it's critical to understand what our skill sets are and what sort of capacity we have for those various resources. So if I filter this view by our developer resources, we see very quickly a lot of red around that generic developer type resource. Kono is overallocated, Woe is overallocated, lots of challenges with resource availability and capacity. And we see we have great demand for developers across this portfolio of proposed projects. So what do we do about that, and how do we enable the growth of developers and collaboration amongst teams? So one tool for doing that, for building out knowledge sharing and collaboration with other employees within the organization, is through the use of the Microsoft Teams interface. Here we're seeing that we've built out an Agile PMO team. We have a general tab where we're able to share information, conversations with others, share files with other team members, focus on ideas that you might have, do a bit of talent sharing. You'll see here we have a learning channel that we've defined, and within that learning channel for this Agile PMO, we can share videos in that channel. We could share a wiki and other best practices around how to deliver projects, how to learn how to become a better developer, for example, how to take on additional skills and additional capabilities to enable a more agile PMO and a more agile organization, focusing here on talent. If we look at the ePMO solution, for example, here within that enterprise PMO, we've got just simple file sharing enabled right through Teams. So you don't need to go searching all over a variety of different SharePoint links and or file stores. Focus instead on a Teams-based approach where all of the information is consolidated directly within one example of how to share information amongst your various teams. And then finally, within Teams, here we're showing that support customers using mobile project, and we're delivering on a work plan for that project with a full comprehensive work breakdown structure, again, directly within Teams. So this context switching that many of you are used to, using many multiple types of applications to deliver on your day-to-day work activities, all of that can be consolidated within a Teams view for sharing information, for managing your projects, for managing a portfolio view as well. We can do all of that within one single interface right here within this Teams view that we're showing. So let's talk about being truly agile without disrupting the flow of activities that are ongoing within your organizations, without disrupting the work that is already happening as you build out your PMO in this age of disruption, trying not to disrupt the teams that are already using tools such as Azure DevOps, Project Desktop, other tools such as the new Project for the Web to deliver their work, but instead consolidating that work within one single interface for the PMO to report against and to be able to roll up and present your executives, your interested parties within the organization, one source of the truth through this one plan reporting interface. So here we're looking at the one plan interface, the actual work breakdown structure for this support customers using mobile project. I can look at the full context and the full details of this project, showing all of the different phases and the tasks, the status, if it's completed or not, and of course, all of the different resources that are assigned to that work. You'll notice within this one plan interface, right near the top, that this is a connected system that we have. And if I click that icon, it'll show me that this particular project, this initiative called Support Customers Using Mobile, is connected to Microsoft Project Professional. So while we're able to visualize the data here within this one plan interface, one source of the truth, back in the real project management world where a user is used to using on a day-to-day basis Project Professional for managing their plans, here we see this support customers using mobile project delivered directly within Microsoft Project Desktop, but again, synchronized with and accessible via the one plan interface for managing the scope and all of the various activities that are happening. And of course, this then rolls up into your programs and your portfolios or your strategic themes, all of this information, again, is consolidated without disrupting those team members and forcing them to take on a new tool for managing projects. Finally, while this is a traditional work breakdown structure type view, I'll switch to a board view. So we have full representation of this project in this board, where I can say develop user manuals. We don't need any user manuals. We'll drag it over to deferred and do that work later on. So a Kanban type approach for managing your work within the context of a project managed in Microsoft Project Desktop, again, fully visible within the one plan interface. And then finally, this particular project, if you'll think way back to the start of the demo, this one is also being managed as an Agile project in a connected system, and that connected system in this case is Azure DevOps. So we're looking at a project with some waterfall aspects being managed by project in Project Desktop. Other aspects of this project are being managed within Azure DevOps. So we have this support customers using mobile Epic that is synchronized with the Azure environment, full visualization here of the features, the user stories, the tasks and bugs that are ongoing. And if I switch back to this view, here it is. There's our support customers using mobile Epic that the Fabricam team has been assigned to. And if I drill down into that Epic, we see that support customers using mobile has a variety of different activities around features, user stories, and tasks. Again, all of that's being consolidated back here so that we have one interface for visualizing all of the work efforts, the resources, and the full details of those plans in a representation within a portfolio view like this. So I've taken you through a quick tour of the one plan solution, showing you how you can enable an agile approach in these ages of disruption, let's say, without actually disrupting the work that's ongoing, that's currently active within your organization, providing a consolidated interface to assemble all of that data together. How you can visualize demand, do strategic planning, become more talent focused, and really be truly agile without disruption. Thanks for that. Jim, I'll turn this back over to you to wrap up the presentation.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for the comprehensive presentation and how that tied back to the concepts that we showed earlier on in that presentation. So let me take over control. And can you see my screen?
I can.
Terrific. So now from a summary and wrap-up perspective, let's just summarize a little bit about what we've talked about conceptually and with the systems. We are definitely in an age of transformation, which is really manifesting itself into an age of disruption within our organizations. Consequently, we are redefining how we do work within organizations, and sometimes we're in the early stages of that, trying to define how we're going to get there and what we want to be at the end of it all. Ultimately, there's new mindsets, methods, and techniques that are being adopted by organizations, and it requires a lot of change and change management within those organizations. The new PMOs and adaptive PPM approaches, like Doug was showing you today, are needed if we're going to stay on top of these things and work in these methods that are being promoted today and that are going to be required for us to be effective and competitive. From a tool set perspective, users want to be able to use the tools that make the most sense for them, and a modern user experience is expected by today's workforce. Doug showed you some of that today. We all need to incorporate tools that are appropriate for user role, maturity, and the type of work. We want the right tools in the hands of the right people. And these must support a variety of execution methodologies. And I think Doug did a very nice job of positioning what that might look like in execution, but in concept, it's something that we definitely should accommodate. Change and adoption must be addressed from the very early on in the transformation process in this disruption if we want to be successful, and we need to have all people involved and incorporated into that process if we want to move forward as an organization effectively. Ultimately, if we do these things, we'll have a better overall user experience internally, which will drive better and more meaningful participation and effectiveness from our team members, and really provide value from all levels of the organization and provide a good experience at all levels of the organization, getting the things that we need out of our processes and our systems. Ultimately, better collaboration cross-functionally across all areas of the business is where we want to be, and this is where this type of concept and solution will take us. Just a little bit about Wickersoft. We focus in these areas of project, portfolio, and just overall work management within organizations and helping people manage the change across all that. We're proud to say we were named Microsoft's Worldwide PPM Partner of the Year in 2019, and we have a global footprint, meaning that we can help you achieve the results that you're looking for and support you to the degree that you want. To that end, we're a full functional firm. We provide the advisory consulting in these topical areas, as well as deep solutions expertise to put the solutions in place that actually enable the things we talked about today. And operationally, we equip you with consulting, training, support, and change management, and even do managed services for people that want us to help them administer this stuff in the interim. As a next step, we want to say that in these concepts, we can offer you a free roadmap assessment or workshop to get an idea of what it would take to get from where you're at today and give you a high-level idea of what it might involve to get you to take advantage of some of the things you saw here today. We showed you some general or generic demonstration examples today. If you're really looking at that, we can help you to trial this stuff with Wickersoft Chaperone support. If you're really that far down the road and you really are seriously looking at doing something with a solution like this. But if you're not quite there yet, the general examples we gave you today, we're happy to structure a more personalized one-on-one demonstration for your organization that addresses your use cases, your challenges, and your requirements. Ongoing, Wickersoft is very committed to being thought leaders in this area. We have on-demand and upcoming webinars at us.wickersoft.com/webinars. Also, we have some things coming up based upon some new announcements from Microsoft, and we have at Ignite in November, and we're having a roadshow coming back to show how that stuff will actually apply to the topics we're talking about today. And so we'll have some more information coming, but there'll be stuff on our website as you go through and look at that. Feel free to reach out to us at contact@wickersoft.com, or you can reach out to me directly if you want to talk directly about some of the things I said today, but we'd love to engage with you and explore the possibilities with you further. For the next webinar that we have coming up, we have the Future of Microsoft project is here, introducing the new Microsoft project for the web, which was alluded to here. More details there will be unveiled after we're no longer under NDA, and we can share more about that once it's announced from Microsoft at that. There's a link down below here, and you will be getting a copy of these slides. So with that, I would like to thank you all for spending some of your valuable time with us here today. We enjoyed being able to communicate with you here today, and we hope to engage with you on a more one-on-one personal basis in the future. Have a great day.